The first alert traffic you need to get you there safe and on time. Tomorrow morning, everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama.
You're late, out the door, and on the go. Don't worry.
Good Day Alabama continues all morning long.
And wherever you watch, this is what you need to know right now.
More reporters on the streets with more hours of news when you need it. Everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama. Knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Our neighbors in North Alabama spent the day cleaning up after severe storms moved through last night. Look at new video showing strong wind gusts tossing dirt and debris over I-565 near Huntsville. The storms knocked out power to 26,000 customers in Madison County and damaged several buildings at City Harbor in Guntersville. Thankfully, no injuries reported from all of this. Meanwhile, in weather around the world, even India's iconic Taj Mahal wasn't spared by extreme weather. The country dealing with ongoing heavy rainfall in recent weeks. Flood waters from the Yamuna River reached the compound walls of the Taj Mahal on Tuesday. It is located on the banks of the river in Agra, and while it is common to see flooding on the Yamuna during monsoon season, it's quite rare for it to reach the outer walls. The Archaeological Survey of India, however, said that the monument is not under threat from the flooding. Meanwhile, in Europe, large wildfires continue to rage across Greece for a third consecutive day as the country's meteorological service warns of temperatures rising later this week. On Wednesday, the Greek Fire Service was battling three major fires in the West Attica region near Athens, in the Peloponnese near the Corinth Canal, and in the island of Rhodes. Firefighters resumed operations with the assistance of aircraft and helicopters on Wednesday morning, trying to contain the fire in the Attica region. The blaze going on to destroy land and burning down houses and cars. Farther west, 9 regions in southeastern France and the French island of Corsica in the Mediterranean have been placed under orange alerts, which are warnings for intense heat on Thursday. According to the French weather agency Météo France, the same areas were already under an intense heat warning today. Authorities are urging people to avoid sun exposure tomorrow. On Tuesday alone, a total of 9 areas in southern France registered new record high temperatures amid the ongoing European heat wave. Tania?
Well, Lauren, whether you live abroad or here at home, you probably already know not to walk your dog on a blacktop when it's this hot outside. But have you thought about what that heat actually does to asphalt and concrete? As Faith Justice reports, it doesn't just make it uncomfortable, it also makes it prone to damage.
Even with some cloud cover, only the extreme are willing to brave the outdoors when it gets this hot.
1, 2, 3, heat wave!
Hydrate. Pretty much. It's hot.
But it's not just people who are hit hard by these high 90 and triple-digit temperatures. It takes its toll on our city roads.
When it's over 100 degrees, our street temps can be over 140.
At that temperature, cement sidewalks can expand and heave. And asphalt that would normally be hard enough for a car to drive over can start to get squishy.
It makes the asphalt soft, and when the asphalt gets soft, big heavy trucks can cause ruts in it.
Crew supervisor Tony Trujillo and his team were out filling potholes this morning. They say these cracks and holes weren't caused by heat, but by snow and ice this winter. They're still catching up on winter street repairs.
We fell behind in doing asphalt maintenance because we weren't able to crack seal all winter, and because we were driving plows.
The intense temperature swing isn't helping. Trujillo can normally get a pothole filled within 48 hours of it being reported. But right now, he's almost a month behind on some work orders. He says he and his guys are powering through.
It's rough when it's hot like this. Just causes a little extra work, but you just have to try and slow down, stay hydrated, and keep it together.
So now that we know how summer heat can affect the roads, what about the cars that drive on them? Terry Russell reports.
The big fan keeps the mechanics cool as they repair cars conked out during the hot weather. Biggest fear, an engine that needs to be replaced like this one. The owner didn't realize the radiator was leaking.
If you don't pull over when it starts showing signs of being hot, it doesn't take very long at all, and it's going to end up causing serious, irreversible damage to the engine.
Pheasant says check your gauges. They will tell you if the temperatures outside are taking a toll under the hood. Make sure the car has sufficient coolant.
3 to 5 years is a lifespan for a battery. This battery here, you can tell.
The heat can really put stress on your battery, so much so it may need to be replaced when winter comes around.
Typically a battery goes bad in the summertime with all of the heat, and what happens is the battery will boil. It creates a gas that comes out of there, which actually looks like a liquid on the surface of the battery, and then the battery becomes evident in the wintertime that it's bad.
With an air conditioner inside the cab, check the cabin air filter. This is what a clean one looks like. This is what a filter looks like after condensation works on it. Pheasant says mold spores can develop, especially as you run the air conditioner. You may be breathing in more than just air. A drain for condensation is located in the heating and air conditioning system. Often it gets plugged, and you'll notice a musty smell during the summer months. That too needs to be cleaned. Tires should be at the proper pressure. Low tire pressure increases friction, and as the wheel heads down the road, your chances of a blowout greatly increase. Simple hot weather precautions taken now will help keep your car out of the mechanic's shop or stranded on the side of the road and uncomfortable.
Though much of the lower 48 has been dealing with above average heat out in the Pacific, Hawaii has had a tropical storm to deal with. The remnants of what was once Tropical Storm Calvin are tracking just below the state, bringing heavy rain, gusty winds, and high surf across the island chain. Minor flooding has already caused some road closures on Hawaii Island, where officials spent all day Tuesday prepping for the storm. Hawaii's governor has issued a state of emergency to help speed up response and recovery efforts. Lauren?
Thanks, Tania. Well, no tropical activity in the Gulf right now. I know we're all thankful for that. But hey, maybe trying to squeeze in a little last-minute beach vacation before the kids head back to school. Let's check in with meteorologist Matt Daniel for a beach forecast.
Hope you've had a wonderful Wednesday, and school's coming up soon, so if you want to sneak in that vacation before everything begins, we're looking pretty good for the next couple of days. We're going down towards Gulf Shores or Orange Beach, looking at a good amount of sunshine, staying pretty dry tomorrow going into Friday. Temperatures close to 90. I know today there was a heat advisories out for parts of the Gulf Coast. That could be a possibility. Those heat index values in the triple digits, but it will back off a little bit as we go into early next week. We're watching a cold front, also increasing rain chances that will lower the heat. By the way, the rip current threat, if you look at the National Weather Service, they say it's a low threat for the next 3 days, but if you go to Orange Beach, other beaches, you might just see that yellow flag, which means a moderate rip current threat. So they just want to use caution if you're out in the water. Temperature's pretty warm in the mid 80s, and just a reminder of those flags, you might see that yellow flag, but you might also see a purple flag. It's been out there in Orange Beach indicating marine life. There's some jellyfish at Orange Beach, so just use caution. And if you see a red, that just really means stay out of the water. Kind of dangerous with those rip current threats. If you're going down the beach for the next couple of days, definitely apply the sunscreen. You will need it. Those UV index numbers are extremely high, above 11. It might drop a bit Saturday as we see increasing clouds and higher rain chances, but when you see an 11 or above in the extreme range, that can cause a lot of harm to your skin, especially if you're not protected. And they always recommend avoid being outdoors between 10 and 5 o'clock, and of course apply that SPF 15 plus every 2 hours. And it never hurts to wear the hat and protective clothes as well. So here's a look at the future radar. Tomorrow's looking dry and nice. Friday, not a big deal either. But as we go into Saturday, we're watching a front that's going to be making its way farther to the south. That could increase those rain chances Saturday evening, Saturday night into Sunday. So Thursday, Friday looking good. Maybe the first half of Saturday's looking good, but those rain chances return as we go into Saturday and Sunday. And rainfall totals estimating over the next 5 days about an inch or so. So here's a look at that 7-day forecast. Looking good for a couple of days. And I know this looks really wet and stormy, but it's not going to be non-stop rain, but you may have to dodge some showers and storms. But notice those temperatures backing down a bit in the mid to upper 80s going into next week, drying out by the middle part of the week, and overnight lows in the mid and upper 70s. Just a reminder, if you're out and about, you can get weather updates through the WBRC First Alert weather app. You can get a future radar through there as well, and it's always a great tool to have no matter where you go. And hey, take some pictures too. Love to see them. Just submit them through the WBRC First Alert weather app.
We heard the first alert. Mom says we have to go. She says I don't have time to grab any more toys.
Need to be in your tornado safe place. Get there right now as you have.
We have to get to our safe place because sometimes when you hear the siren, it's too late. That's why she says knowing first is everything.
We know weather can be grab the umbrella or jogging shoes, but it's so much more. It's a science, an art, led by knowledge and experience.
And no one has more of that than a WBRC First Alert weather team.
Warning you first with more hours committed to you. And the first forecast built to see weeks, days, and even minutes ahead, right down to where you live. From the team you trust on your favorite screen.
Doing the weather better. The WBRC First Alert weather team, always on your side.
The first alert is more than a warning. It's a promise. A promise to get you out of harm's way with plenty of time to spare. 4 walls and a roof can be replaced. Lives can't. That's why knowing first is everything. First Alert weather.
Welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. We've got the back to school sales tax holiday coming up for this weekend on Saturday, and you can see there's going to be a chance for some rain and storms coming back there during the morning hours. We're going to be watching for that chance of some wet weather to start the weekend, but the rest of the day should be okay. So afternoon, I know it says 20% there at 1 o'clock. I think most of the rain's going to be out of here by 1 o'clock on Saturday, just based on what we're seeing today. So check in for updates. Let's walk you through that forecast for this evening, and you'll notice over the next 24 hours, things certainly calmer compared to 24 hours ago when we had all the storms last night. This evening, not expecting stormy weather. We're going to stay dry. It's a muggy feel, though, out there for this evening because we've had a little bit of rain that's added a little bit of moisture to the atmosphere. So it's going to be kind of muggy to start tomorrow morning. Lows in the 70s, sticky start to our Thursday morning, but expecting a calm, dry start to the day. Get out there early because it's a First Alert weather day for heat. Afternoon temperatures by 3 o'clock, upper 90s, the heat index 105 to 110. Yeah, not seeing a lot of rain on here on the forecast data. That said, I still think we're going to see some scattered storms. A greater chance north and east there later on. We have that 30% chance of rain with this kind of heat. We still have some high dew points out there. That's going to get a few storms going, especially where this ridge kind of weakens up tomorrow to the north. And notice over the weekend, Friday's still going to be a hot day. I know we haven't declared it a First Alert weather day, but the heat index is still going to top 100 at times on Friday. So the hot, humid weather really goes nowhere through Friday afternoon. But Friday night and then a Saturday morning, we're starting to get a better handle on the next big thing, which is a front that's going to move through. You can see by 9 p.m., chance for rains on the increase, and late Friday night we could have some strong to severe storms with gusty winds. That's going to blast through here through the early morning. So again, I think by the time we get to midday on Saturday, the drier air is moving in, so that's going to keep the higher rain chances down into South Alabama. Now, if you are traveling down towards the Gulf Coast for Saturday, this will have an impact. There will be some stormy weather there along the coast, so make sure you have our Fox 6 weather app so you can get those alerts there as that moves off to the south. Notice the wind switches around by Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock, a north breeze. That is going to really improve those comfort levels. If you have plans, birthday party plan, maybe Saturday evening, yeah, it's going to feel okay out there. Still warm, but that breeze helping with the comfort levels. Sunday looks dry, so that's going to move on through. And speaking of dry, it's extra dry out here across the Atlantic Basin because we have been tracking 2 massive plumes of Saharan dust that's been making it out. This time of year, the trade winds pick up out here over the Atlantic. You get more of an easterly flow. All of the overall wind pattern kind of shifts north across the northern hemisphere. So what's going on, we start to see these what we call easterly waves that traverse the Atlantic Basin, and that's what can eventually form into tropical systems. Those are what we call seedlings for tropical storms. And so far, things have been rather calm, and that's because also in that easterly flow, a lot of that dust has been coming off of Africa, moving across the Atlantic, and it's just kind of drawing in all that moisture. You got to have tropical moisture, that moist air. That's one of the key components of the ingredients for a tropical cyclone. So that's why we really haven't seen a lot going on there. Plus, there's been some wind shear that's also been unfavorable. So as long as you have this kind of setup, that's one thing that that you can kind of take off the list as far as favorable conditions for tropical development. That's going to help to work against tropical development. But we still had further north over the Atlantic, we had Don that developed. It's a tropical storm, but this is still what we call a fish storm. It's going to stay out over the Atlantic and turn north. It looks like it's going to stay away from Nova Scotia, so we're not expecting that to move in towards Canada as that moves off to the north. But we'll keep an eye on Don. If you get an alert about Tropical Storm Don, just know that thing's way out over the Atlantic, way out here, no threat to the Gulf of Mexico. But there is a tropical wave, an easterly wave that's out over the eastern Atlantic right here, 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. Just keep in mind, again, with all that dusty air that's in the atmosphere across the Atlantic, that's not going to be a very favorable setup for that system as it moves on towards the westerly direction. Okay, 7-day forecast. We got storms more likely going into the weekend. Again, Sunday mainly dry next week. I know we're talking about a front drop in temperatures for this weekend, but it looks like that heat comes right back around Wednesday, Thursday, and next week. How about beyond the 7-day forecast? Let's check in with meteorologist Lauren Linehan.
Hey, Wes. Well, as we look at that temperature outlook, 8 to 14 days from now, wrapping up July, headed towards August, above average temperatures look to be the trend, not just for us in Alabama, but across the lower 48 in general. Normally, we see some places with below average. So, I mean, this is pretty impressive to see all of us dealing with above average heat. But fitting, it's the dog days of summer. So going into next week, we've been talking about our next big thing being a front that's going to come through this weekend, going to lower the humidity a bit. But sometimes when you have a dry heat, those temperatures can climb more easily. So I wouldn't be surprised to see mid, if not upper 90s later into next week, possibly into next weekend, and then still looking relatively hot. I think that 79 the following Monday is a bit of an anomaly, but generally looks like above average temperatures will be taking us into August, and of course some warm and muggy mornings. No surprises there. But what about that rainfall outlook? Well, you may be surprised to hear, hey, possibility of below average precipitation 8 to 14 days from now. Will it actually pan out that way? I'm skeptical based on how we've been in this stubborn northwest flow pattern for what feels like most of the summer. And oftentimes during the summer, we're going to get above average precipitation anyway, especially in months like June and July. But eventually we get closer to times like September and October, we begin to see that precipitation outlook change a little bit. So let's look beyond the 7-day here. Here we are next Thursday, and generally showing a ridge of high pressure building across much of the U.S. really, and here across the southeast. So you may manage a few thunderstorms in the mix. We've been seeing the possibility as we get into next weekend. Here we are Friday, July 28th, a few more thunderstorms in the mix, trying to break that bubble under the ridge. But generally, I think that ridge will still have a strong hold over much of the southeast. So it doesn't look like rain chances are going to be overly favorable. Here we are Monday, July 31st, last day of the month, showing a better chance of potentially some scattered showers and storms, but just not seeing anything unusual for summertime. Hot, muggy chance of storms. You probably could have guessed that yourself. At least that's the case for us here in the southeast. But on the west coast, there has been a lot of wet weather thus far this year, and that weather is putting a damper on the wine country's grape harvest. Napa Valley grape growers say a cool, wet spring has actually turned back the clock on vine ripening, and that means the 2023 harvest could be weeks later than it has been in years, putting the crop at risk of fall rains and wildfires. Cornell Bernard in California has more.
I think we're doing more leafing right now, is really, and a little bit, leafing. He's mostly pulling leaves.
Vineyard crews at Visa Tui Winery are busy creating more space for grapes to grow under the hot sun of the Napa Valley. It's been a challenging season for the precious fruit so far, to say the least.
It's certainly one for the record books.
Visa Tui president and Napa Valley Grape Growers board member Tom Davies says it began with a drought-busting winter and spring, record rainfall, and below-average temperatures into the start of summer.
This is my 43rd harvest here at Visa Tui Winery, so I have a few years to look back. And for sure, this has been the coolest start in the Napa Valley for probably the last 21 years.
That cool spell means grapes of all varieties have essentially been left confused and super slow to develop.
These are Cabernet vines, and vintners say normally this time of year you'd start to see veraison. That means ripening of the grapes, but as you can see, no ripening here. They are emerald green.
The weather so far is pushing the entire harvest at least 3 weeks or so.
Davies says some grape harvest may not happen until October or November, which could put the crop at the mercy of fall rains, even wildfires.
And if we do get an early rains, an early El Nino season, along with a late crop, that's not ideal.
Fire is always top of mind.
Caleb Mosley is vineyard manager for Matthias and Wines. He says these vines remain resilient.
These vines behind us haven't been irrigated once this year, which is incredible. We can grow this big, beautiful canopy without a drop of water, partly because we had such a fortuitous winter and spring season.
The Napa Valley grape growers told ABC 7 News in a statement the temperate weather has resulted in steady growth, loose clusters, and concentrated berries. Right now, vineyard teams are continuing to manage canopies for airflow and even sun exposure. We are expecting the sparkling harvest kicking off end of August.
We're seeing a cooler vintage, which is not the end of the world.
Experts say hot weather is helping the grapes ripen. A silver lining in the vineyard, the grapes are growing loosely clustered, which could reduce mildew if they get wet before harvest time.
It could be a great harvest, and so not a big plentiful bumper crop, but in terms, I think we could have some really great quality. It's just, we're farmers, and so much can happen between now and then.
In the Napa Valley, Cornell Bernard, ABC 7 News.
Oh, at least when this story was shot. Man, a beautiful day out there in the Napa Valley. Can't wait to visit the West Coast. In the meantime, you can visit us right back here tonight on First at 9. Check in with Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt for an update on that hot, muggy forecast with a chance of storms. Breaking news, it's summertime, guys. And you can join us here on Weather Extra every night at 6:30, weeknights at least. We ain't gonna be here on the weekend. Well, Tania and Fred will be. I will not bring you Weather Extra, but check in on your favorite streaming platform. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Have a safe and happy Wednesday evening. Bye.